Hey now, hello, 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 hey now, and hey now. Welcome to our number 2 of the line, Talk 99.5, Andrew Mclain, John Bird. Make sure you find us on YouTube. We are on YouTube at Real Talk 99.5 TV. You can watch us there. Some of y'all are watching us on TikTok, on my personal TikTok. I'm just kind of chatting through the breaks. We'll do that for the next 30, 45 minutes. And also on the Talk 99.5 app, the website, all that kind of stuff. It's all there. You know where to find it. You know where to find it. So let me just, and I got a bunch of phone calls. I'll get to that. But first, this CNN World fraudulent Iranian ceasefire statement. It says, Iran says it has achieved. This is crazy. It says Iran claims victory. This is the headline. Iran claims victory, says it forced U.S. to accept 10-point plan. And I read you one of the 10-point plans yesterday, which included Iran can continue with their nuclear program. U.S. got to quit messing with them. All sanctions relieved. The Strait of Hormuz is only open, but only on Iranian terms. So CNN reports Iran says it has achieved a great victory and forced the United States to accept its 10-point plan, according to a statement from Iran's Supreme National Security Council report by Iranian state media. As part of the plan, the U.S. has, in principle, agreed to lift all primary and secondary sanctions against Iran and to withdraw U.S. combat forces from all bases in the region. It's also agreed to accept Iran's nuclear program. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
I don't remember. I don't think that was the case.
No, I don't think that happened. Trump responded to that by saying the alleged statement put out by CNN World News is a fraud, as CNN well knows. The false statement was linked to a fake news site from Nigeria and, of course, immediately picked up by CNN and blared out as a legitimate headline. The official statement by Iran was just released and posted on Truth below. Authorities are looking to determine whether or not a crime was committed on the issuance of the fake CNN World statement, or was it a sick rogue player. CNN is being ordered to immediately withdraw this statement with full apologies for their, as usual, terrible reporting. Results of the investigation will be announced in the near future. I can't get enough of that, man. CNN deserves every bit of heat that they get. Every bit of heat that they get. But with that, good news has come with that. As we said, the stock market seems to be rebounding a little bit. You have oil dropping below $100 a barrel on this announcement. Some of y'all have seen it at the gas pumps already, and hopefully that this sticks. Now, there have been a couple different things. Iranian state media has reported that they've been halting ships in the Strait of Hormuz. But this is just coming from Iranian state media, and maybe they're bolstering their position and trying to convince their people that they didn't lose this negotiation, or I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. And I don't even know if ships are actually being blocked or not. They may be, they may not be. But what has happened in the meantime, in the immediate aftermath of the ceasefire being announced, rockets flew into Tel Aviv, or between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And those were being reported as maybe ancillary rockets that were being fired by terror groups that hadn't got word yet that a ceasefire had been reached. But I don't know if those actually stopped through the night, because Israel actually launched a massive amount of strikes on Hezbollah, which is the Iran-backed terror group, and Iran is apparently ticked off about that. In response, Iranian state media reported that Iran has halted the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz after Israeli attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, the ceasefire, Lebanon is not involved in the ceasefire. Hezbollah is a different animal, although it is tied back to Iran. Iran can make the argument, hey, you're attacking our terrorists that are in a different country, but it's a ceasefire with Iran. So they say earlier today, we know 2 vessels were able to go through this passageway. But again, the state media is reporting that the Iranians are choking off the strait. If that is true, that is not going to be good for Iran because power plant and bridge day may very well be back on. That's going to stay in Donald Trump's back pocket. And they're not going to keep women and children at these power plants and bridges 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they better figure out what they're doing. Donald Trump said the United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. There will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all of their deeply buried nuclear dust, quote unquote. So that's kind of where we're at right now. It is a very, and I think J.D. Vance phrased it this way, this is a very fragile truce, which means that it has the ability to bust open at any given time. That at any moment, this ceasefire could just be off. And we've seen that happen in the past between Hamas and Israel. How many times did we remember the one time that Donald Trump brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and the next thing you know, Israel fires rockets over in Gaza, and Donald Trump comes out and he's like, these idiots have been fighting for so long, they don't know what the F they're doing. He was talking about both Israel and Gaza or Hamas, and he's like, y'all got to chill. And you can't get anything done if you got, especially with as long as this ceasefire took, 30-something days, you got to take care of it. You've got to be very, very careful. You've got to nurture this ceasefire and make sure that it stays in place and that a negotiation can take place over these next 2 weeks, which hopefully won't even take 2 weeks. Because we don't even want our military to have to be on standby in the event that they do something.
Yeah, I mean, if we haven't been able to believe them any before, what makes anyone think that they're going to stand by
There's
this?
no reason to believe them. There's no reason to believe that they will stick to the ceasefire. That's why you don't move any military personnel. You keep everything in place. And you make sure that they know power plant day and bridge day is still on the verge of happening. As soon as you make the wrong move, it's going down. And that's it. And that's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's given them, enough chances. So, how can people complain about it, and say he's just going in there? No, he's not.
No, he's been extremely gracious to Iran, much more than they deserve. The Iranian regime has gotten much more grace than they deserve. And we did it, by the way, without the help of NATO, without European allies. As a matter of fact, the only Royal Navy ship that was deployed to the Middle East just returned to port because it had technical issues with its water system. It's like, man, we don't need y'all. Y'all stuff sucks anyway. Like, you can't even keep your boats out on the water. So NATO, whatever, dude. Don't. You did us a favor by letting us know where you stand as far as when we need you. So when you need us, we know how to appropriately respond. I think that's what it comes down to. Let me get Bubba Rumble on the line. Bubba, what's up?
I like Donald Trump, and he likes me back. So suck on that, TDS having libtard Trump haters.
Yeah.
I had faith in our dude, man. What will people learn? 10 years of this freaking chain jerking from the lamestream media that people keep falling for, and we see more people getting sucked into it. I would imagine Tucker and Candace Owens and Alex Jones are getting some money for their flip-flopping positions, and I bet you Joe Kent got money for his flip-flops too.
Yeah, it's weird because we're talking about good people. I believe Candace Owens is a good people. I believe Tucker's good people. I believe Alex Jones. All of these people I have liked for years and years and years. And it's like, I don't know if they just all got together one day and started discussing their views on Israel, and their hatred for the Israeli government has driven them to a point of Trump derangement syndrome, or what. That seems to be what it is. One of the prime examples I feel like is Theo Vaughn. All right, now Theo Vaughn is a guy that doesn't pay attention to the world of politics. He's a comedian. He's a hilarious guy. He got the personality of his personality is just gold. He's just, and he's a good dude. Like, you can tell he's a good guy. Well, he ends up moving in with next door to Candace Owens, or vice versa, however that played out. And next thing you know, he's on his podcast and he's talking about a genocide in Gaza. And he's talking about Israel this and Israel that. And ever since then, he's brought up these geopolitical issues and seems to be very dug in on them. And I thought, well, he's just, now that he's living next door to Candace Owens is just pumping this stuff in his head and has turned him into somebody that he was not. Has that been the case with these other people, such as Tucker or Megyn Kelly or whatever? Have they just, are they hanging out with a certain group of people that has changed their line of thinking and allowed them to throw logic out the window, or what? Or as you said, are they being paid by, the Saudis or whatever? I don't know.
Follow the money. I'm telling you, in Theo's case, might be follow the poo nanny, because maybe he's just simping for Candace Owens and trying to get him some of that. You know what I'm saying? And I can't blame him. She's an attractive woman, but he should just get back out of politics, because that's not really his gig anyway.
Yeah. And everybody I listed off, by the way, I still love these people. It's just on this issue, I'm speaking out on it because I don't want them to fall into the TDS category, and I hope they can get over it quickly, because there's nothing more unattractive.
With all of them coming around at the same time, it's got to be about money and getting clicks. That's there's just certain things that you can talk about that's going to get you clicks from people. And right now, it's Orange Man bad, various versions of the same narrative. So,
and we know that that's a tactic of foreign governments. I mean, these same people were the ones calling out other individuals on social media for taking paychecks from Israel and promoting pro-Israeli talking points. And it's like, is it going on the opposite way now? And are we all just Andrew and John Bird and Bubba Rumble? Are we just all sitting around listening to a bunch of people that are being paid by foreign governments, or what?
That's us. We're out on a little peninsula wondering why everybody's falling for this stuff, but I stand my ground. Like, Trump's our dude, and after 10 years of him constantly defeating the narrative and coming out on the right side of things, you think maybe even some of these TDS people might at least be a little more objective about it, but I don't know if they're capable, because TDS is a powerful drug.
That's the thing, is it's like, I'm not an intelligent guy, but all I have to do is just look at what's happened over the past 10 years, and I've got my answer as to whether Trump knows what he's doing or not. It's not this big convoluted algebra equation. It's just, hey, he keeps ending up on the right side, so I'm gonna keep siding with that until I'm proven wrong.
Absolutely. And my biggest question about this whole ceasefire, like, who may break the ceasefire? Israel's right there at the top of my list of the people that might break the ceasefire, and I didn't even know the stuff that you were talking about leading into this just now, that they already kind of have, but it was only targeted at Hezbollah and not really into Iran. But they've got a history of going rogue during joint operations in that theater. So if anybody's going to do something stupid, my money's on them. And, of course, they won't be held to account if they do, because of AIPAC and all the dual Israeli citizens in our government, so they just get to do what they want. And, oh, well, okay, we won't do it anymore, but
Yeah.
there's a good chance that they're going to assault this deal as much as Iran could, and it'd be in their best interest to just lay low and let this play out.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that 100%. You've got just as much of a chance of Israel screwing the pooch on the ceasefire as you do Iran. But fortunately, Donald Trump, contrary to popular belief in some circles, Donald Trump is not beholden to Iran or Benjamin Netanyahu. So if anybody's going to be able to keep the Israeli government in line, I think it's going to be Donald Trump. We'll see how it plays out.
Yep. And in the meantime, I'm already enjoying these falling oil prices, $92 a barrel last time I checked. And I imagine it will continue to trend downward and stock market trend upward. And all I can say about that is, hey now.
Let's go. Hey now. That's Bubba Rumble. More of your phone calls coming up. 205-545-9950. The Line Talk 99.5. Two zero five 545 9950. Tony says on the tax line, hopefully Trump can get back to making America great again and now focus on interest rates, vehicle insurance, housing prices, and rent, and et cetera for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, we're on the verge of having a new Fed chair, so hopefully that's going to make a big difference. Once we can get interest rates down, we can bust this bad boy wide open. And then also on the front of, just overall inflation or gas prices and everything that affects. Shane says, easy with the Jew hating. Why? Why is it? Why is it always? Why is it that if I say anything about the Israeli government, it's always about Jew hating? What did I say about Jews? Did I say anything about Jews? You just John Bird? Did you hear me say anything about Jews at all?
No.
Have you ever heard me say on air or in private anything about any sort of disdain for Jewish people?
No.
Ever?
No.
So where is the Jew hating?
I think you mentioned one thing about when Trump had brokered the peace agreement before, and that both of them.
I quoted what Trump said.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
Israel breaking the ceasefire.
Right.
How is that Jew hating?
Yeah, it's a misunderstanding, I'm sure.
Benjamin Netanyahu, how is that Jew hating? Does Benjamin Netanyahu represent all Jews across the world?
No.
I would think not. He's a politician, and he's probably corrupt like every other politician. And if Jew hate, I've been through this so many times. If criticizing the Israeli government means I hate the Jews, then I guess that's just what you're going to have to believe. But I'm not going to not criticize a foreign government if I see them doing something that I don't think they should be doing. I'm running a news talk show here. I'm giving my opinion on what's going on in geopolitics. Has nothing to do with Jews. Okay? So you're gonna have to either get over that or just, think Andrew's some big anti-Semite. Well, there's actually anti-Semitic people out there. You just, again, it's I feel like there's too many people falling into this liberal mind frame of if you say something I don't like, you're a bigot or you're a racist or you're an anti-Semite, and I don't understand what the left has done to be able to infiltrate people's brains in that fashion. I could say I may even understand that people feel like there's so much anti-Semitism out there that they're looking for it around every corner, but that's what liberals do. They were convinced, back in the George Floyd, that police brutality was so prevalent. They were looking for police brutality around every corner and thought any interaction they had with police was going to result in them getting their ass beat. But criticizing Israel's government or saying that they have broken a ceasefire, which they have in the past, means you hate Jews? Come on. Dwayne, anybody that claims to be a Christian and goes against Israel has not read their Bible. It clearly states that those who bless Israel will be blessed and those who curse Israel will be cursed. That's a fact. I don't care what any of these other people say. Israel is God's chosen people. Well, show me where it says not to hate on Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm just gonna have to stop reading text messages, John Byrne, because it's insanity.
No, man, you gotta, the people they want to converse with you, man.
This text is from BB Lover. Says, "Hey Andrew, why do you hate Netanyahu?" Did I say I hated Bibi Netanyahu? Have I said that yet? I just feel like everybody's texting in with these quotes that I never said. And we've got, by the way, all of our shows are archived. So there's never going to be a time where Andrew Mclain allegedly says something and you can't go back and reference it. So I encourage anybody to go back and pull the part where I said I hate Bibi Netanyahu. What has he done that's so wrong? I said, and I'm surprised TikTok hasn't dinged me for hate speech, honestly. I simply noted that that Israel's government broke a ceasefire, which is true. What? And I don't hate Netanyahu. I mean, Israel is an ally, and I think in a lot of cases, maybe even in the majority of cases, hopefully in the majority of cases, they are a good ally for us. They are really, previous to now, they have been our only ally in the Middle East. Now we seem to be garnering more allies in the Middle East thanks to Donald Trump and his ability to make frenzies with people. But before that, they were all we had over there. And it's why they were able to acquire so many weapons and defense systems and everything else, because they were our go-to guys. So I don't hate Israel. There's so many people out there that have contracted this mentality of Israel bad all the way. They're the devil. Bibi Netanyahu's the devil and all this kind of stuff. And I see it. I see it all the time. I've never said anything like that, even remotely close. I don't agree with that. But yet sometimes I feel like I'm being painted as one of those people. And it's insanity. It's insanity. Robbie said, you said that Israel is just as likely to break a ceasefire as the Iranians, and I think that's what pissed people off. Well, it's my opinion. And I'm not saying that Israel would break a ceasefire just to break the ceasefire or just to keep the war going. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But the breaking of a ceasefire from Israel would likely be something along the lines of firing a missile at a terrorist hotspot, actually shooting at bad guys, which they've been doing for years and years and years and years. And in most cases, it's been their objective to defend themselves and eradicate terror groups in countries like Iran from trying to wipe them off the map, which they have made it their goal. I mean, the whole thing between Israel and Gaza and Hamas was all defense related. Now, if you want to go into the story of how October 7th happened and all that kind of stuff, that's a whole story. I kind of lean towards Charlie Kirk's line of thinking on this when he was on the PBD podcast and says it doesn't make a lot of sense that it happened, that it was almost like it was seemingly allowed to happen, and it not necessarily allowed to happen from the top, but somewhere somebody let something happen that they shouldn't have let happen or slip through the cracks. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. You're trying to pull me into a trap. But yeah, it's just there's no Jew hate. I don't hate the Jews. I don't hate. There's a lot of people that do, but I ain't one of them. So y'all gonna have to pick somebody else to pin that on. What else? Drew says, the way they react when you mention Jews, it really makes me want to question them more. And I think that's the mentality of a lot of people, and even the people that actually do get on these whole, Jews are evil or, Israel's evil and all this kind of stuff, is that the mere mention of Israel feeds into that. and they say to themselves, why can't you? Because I was, again, I'm not criticizing Jews or Jewish people. I will criticize Bibi Netanyahu just like I'll criticize Vladimir Putin or Vladimir Zelensky or Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un or anybody else. But, like, I'm just stating what's going on out there. And people are like, well, you can't say that. You obviously hate Jews if you say that. And it's, I don't know. Anyway, to my larger point, none of that was even really in the mix in my thought process here. I was honestly concentrating on what has been said by many of those on the right. Caleb says, if you talk about how great Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are and talk about how bad Israel is and how you don't like them, people are going to correctly assume you hate the Jews. Andrew, it's pretty simple. Are we, is it just make up what Andrew said day? Is that what we're doing here? How much you don't like, wait, let me just make sure I read this correctly. If you talk about how great Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are and talk about how bad Israel is, I was talking about how bad Israel was and how you don't like them, people are going to correctly assume you hate the Jews. Did I say I don't like Israel? When did I say that? We're just literally making stuff up. And as a matter of fact, the only person I was criticizing are people on the right, conservatives, that have been freaking out about what Donald Trump's doing. That was my point. Had nothing to do with Israel. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of did as far as the subject matter, but I was talking about how people I was actually criticizing Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson because those are the individuals, in particular, Tucker and Megyn Kelly, and how they seem to have fallen into this TDS type of mindset. And I hate it. I hate it for them because I do like them. And just because I say I do like them doesn't mean I'm saying how great Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are and how bad Israel is. Never said those things. Lord have mercy. Now, to the aspect, and this goes back to Bubba Rumble's call, to the aspect of why they are going with this line of thinking, such as, the way Candace Owens has, and what drives me crazy, and it's on both sides of this argument, is how people get so locked into this issue, because I don't even talk about Israel that much anyway. How locked in they are on this issue. On one side, you have, and Candace Owens moved on to things like Erica Kirk or whatever, but you have these individuals who have these platforms that will just stick with the topic of Israel and talk about nothing else. And it's like, let it go and move on. You can circle back around and come back to that topic, but give it a break. The world's not revolving around the Israeli government. And I understand some people think that is the case, but it's not. There's other things to talk about. It's those of us who are in the commentary sphere, in the commentary ecosystem, we got a lot we can talk about. But some of them have just been so locked in on that issue, on that topic, that it drives. Mark Levin is another one. Mark Levin just will not stop talking about people he considers anti-Semitic. Every single time I've turned on his show over the past few months, he's talking. I got in the car, it was 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think it was Thursday or Friday night last week. He's talking about Nick Fuentes. Why? He just was on this big tirade about Nick. I'm like, dude, quit giving these people oxygen. Move on. Anyway, that's not me. I think it's detrimental to their product, but they're far more successful than I am, so I let them be. But you're not catching me doing any of that. I'm not. If I just say the word Israel or mention Israel's government, which is the only thing I have criticized, but it's the only thing I've criticized. I've never criticized the Jews that live in Israel. I've never criticized any sort of Jew that lives in America or whatever. For me and Jewish, I mean, I probably criticize Jewish people, but not because they're Jewish. It's just an absurd line of thinking that I'm some sort that I'm even giving off the sense that I hate Israel or I think Israel is so bad. Y'all have got to just kind of take a deep breath, back away, and remind yourself that not every time somebody brings up Bibi Netanyahu means they hate the Jews, because it's not true. But anyway, to my original point, because I'm going to stop talking about that because y'all will have me yapping about, how everything you don't like is anti-Semitic. Tucker Carlson. I just the aspect of his line of thinking and why he thinks that way, or why Candace Owens thinks the way she does, is bizarre. I think you can take things on a case-by-case basis, right? You can look at situations and say, all right, well, this time it's this, or this time it's this, instead of saying everything that, and this is what happens. And this is where I think maybe people might have a touch of anti-Semitism. They think that everything that benefits Israel is a bad thing. Completely untrue. There are many things that could benefit Israel and benefit the U.S. There are things that benefit Israel that don't benefit the U.S. There are things that may benefit Israel and benefit Iran at the same time, and vice versa. But some people will say, if Israel's got their hands in it or their fingerprints are on it and it's something that benefits them, it's obviously bad. Not true. But some people think that way. And you wonder if that leads them into a place like where some conservatives got when it came to Trump's decisions on this Iran war. Or is it as simple as money? Tucker Carlson, I don't know if you know this, John Bird, but Tucker Carlson bought a house in Doha, in Qatar, Saudi Arabia. And, you can find that a little weird if you want, but that place is beautiful. I mean, you've seen the pictures of Qatar. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. And the average price of a home in Qatar is like $800,000 US. Like, it's not cheap. But if an American wants to buy a home in a foreign country, I think that's perfectly fine. But it might lead you to understand why Tucker feels the way he does. And maybe he's not being paid by the government or by the Saudis. Maybe he's just being treated in such a way that he views people of the Middle East or people in Saudi Arabia or the UAE or whatever in a different light. I saw a video that Andrew Tate did where he was in Dubai and he was at a hotel, very, very nice hotel. And he was explaining on this video how nice and courteous the government was to him. They had, when he got to his hotel room, there was a note from the government, candy, gifts and all this kind of stuff. And it was all like, Mr. Andrew Tate, thank you so much for visiting us. We really care about you and we think you're awesome and blah, 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 blah. And he was explaining how, could you imagine the U.S. government doing that to you if you were from another country and you came in and you were somebody of importance for them to treat you that way? Outside of, being a foreign leader coming to the White House, you're just a regular guy with some following and the government treats you that way. He's like, this is great. I think this really, would change people's opinion about the Saudis or the Saudi government. I think that's probably what's happened with Tucker. is that he bought a house. And maybe it happened before he bought the house, but he has been treated very nicely by the government in Qatar, and it has changed his perception about who they are. You saw a little bit about it. Remember when he went and interviewed Vladimir Putin, and he did a video and he talked about how nice Moscow was and how nice the subways and the grocery stores were compared to like some of the stuff you see in New York and how nasty and grimy it is. He's like, it's amazing that they care enough to take care of this place. Like Tucker's that kind of guy, and I think that probably influences his opinion on that part of the world or those Muslim countries. And, but unfortunately, and it's fine to feel that way, but unfortunately, it's taken him to a place where it seems as if he's suffering from TDS, and I don't.
You can't be objective.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I don't like it. It's not just him, it's Megan Kelly and others. I'll give you some of that when we get back. 205-545-9950. You're listening to Andrew Mclain, the most non-anti-Semitic guy on the radio. Back after this. Here we go. 205-545-9950. 545-9950. Now, I just want to I want to stay with this for a second before we get into the 12 o'clock hour, because I want you to hear what these individuals were saying. Now, this is not necessarily new for them, but it's been a slow buildup. And again, I'm concentrating on conservatives. Liberals are a lost cause. Democrats are a lost cause. As you know, they hate everything Trump does. But we are taking a step back and looking at what's happened over the past 48 hours, in particular with Sunday tweet about, where Donald Trump said what he said about Power Plant Day, Bridge Day, and the one where he talked about the end of a civilization, which, again, nobody with two brain cells to rub together believed he was talking about wiping out Iran and all the Iranian citizens. Nobody with a brain thought that. But apparently some people on the right have lost their brain and just said some weird stuff. Here's Megyn Kelly.
Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 380, yes, shut up. Shut up about that shit. You don't threaten to wipe out an entire civilization. We're talking about civilians just casually in a social media post. Like I am the first to try to understand Trump and his strategy and to not freak out over his weird social media posts and language that is loose and incendiary. Truly, I've lived with it for 10 plus years. I learned it the hard way when I was on the receiving end of it for 9 months. And truly, I think that was a gift to me in many ways because it helped me really come to understand what he does with his social media. But this is completely irresponsible and disgusting.
Dare I say that maybe Megyn Kelly doesn't understand what Trump's saying? Because if she did, if she took a few minutes to actually think about it, she would say to herself, you know what? Trump doesn't seem like the type of guy that would just take out an entire civilization. Maybe this is the art of the deal. Maybe this is part of Trump negotiating. Did these people, did Megyn Kelly forget that Trump's a negotiator? I mean, it's crazy. And then it got even more bizarre with Trump's with Tucker's comments on Trump's post where he said, again, Power Plant Day, Bridge Day, Iranians better make a deal, praise be to Allah, or whatever the tweet. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but y'all remember what it said. This was Tucker's response.
This is a mockery not just of Islam, it's a mockery of Christianity. To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. Oh, I get it. We can't support that. Under no circumstances can we support that. Doesn't mean you have to hate Trump or take the opposite position on every issue from Trump. You shouldn't. A lot of his positions are the right positions, but you cannot support that.
He goes on to say that mocking Islam is mocking Christianity and that Trump is, mocking Christians with this post. And I thought to myself, what has happened? I felt like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. There's actually a much longer version of what Tucker said, which I may play for you on the other side. But I don't understand how people that are so bright and so smart, like Megyn Kelly, like Tucker Carlson, can fall into such an obvious trap, which is Trump derangement syndrome. One of the main symptoms of Trump derangement syndrome is that Trump is anything you want him to be at any time, right? In the morning, he's a genocidal lunatic. And by the evening, he's a cowardly, chicken. Almost said something else. Like he's a taco. Trump always chickens out. Sadly, there's no cure for that. But that's what Trump derangement syndrome is, and it usually resides on the left. But when did it become normal for conservative commentators to just all of a sudden start talking like liberals? That's not good for anybody.